All right, hello and welcome to the Survivor Maryland Winner Take All Episode 1 live show. I am your host and editor, Anders. It's wonderful to be back after so long, and yet maybe not long enough. Who's to say? Tonight I've got some wonderful guests to talk about the very first episode of our 8th season. Joining me as our co-host for this whole season, we've got an all-star of Survivor Michigan, Erin. Erin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't on that season. I'm from Survivor Michigan, Mazed and Confused, also known as Erin's season. Anyway, I'm doing great. I just brought this specifically. Let me just put my smartwatch on real quick. Because smartwatches are important and I think they're great. And yeah, excited to be back, excited to get into it. I already have a lot of thoughts and I'm excited for the many more that I'm going to continue have throughout the season. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's meet some of our wonderful guests. Naomi, why don't you tell the audience who you are and what you do?
That's such a good question. I wish I knew. Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm the co-executive producer of Survivor New York. You might also remember me from being on the Survivor Michigan After Show a bunch, just being wrong with every opinion I had. And I'm so glad to be back here, not only with all of you, but everybody on Discord and the famous names in the YouTube chat. I'm so glad that we're back for another amazing season of Survivor Maryland.
Amazing. George.
That's me. I did think this was Rob Has a Podcast 14th anniversary podcast. So if I need to dip at some point, it's because I don't care. No, I'm kidding. This is a great night. I'm very excited to talk. You might know me as the lesser of the famous co-creators of Survivor Michigan. The other one's a millionaire. So they've been on 2 reality shows. And I'm sitting here with Anders, and that's where I want to be.
Yeah, sorry, live from my apartment. It's the Survivor Maryland After Show. And then finally, Shane, last but not least.
Or least, I don't know, maybe. My name is Shane. I am the co-founder and host of Scotty Survivor at Carnegie Mellon, seasons 1, 2, and 3. And potentially player in future season. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here with this all-star team talking about Survivor Maryland.
So just before we get into it, if you have not watched the first episode of Survivor Maryland Winner Take All, we're going to be talking about it. You're going to get spoiled. So what are you doing here? Go watch that episode first, and then you can watch this later. It won't be live, but you'll at least know what we're talking about. Additionally, if you've never watched Survivor Maryland Guts and Glory, New Beginnings, or Major Conflict, there are returners from those seasons, so we're probably going to reference them and spoil a little bit. So if you care about spoilers, don't watch this yet. Go and watch those seasons first, and then come back in like a week or 2 weeks.
Go away.
Quick binge.
A night.
Quick
Night.
binge.
One
It's
night.
all
Quick
there.
Binge.
So winner take all. We have our first episode. How are we all feeling? What are our big reactions from this episode?
Oh my god, so many. I will say,
there's a
first
lot.
off, I love the game changers thing. I love the fact of like things hidden at challenges. I think that's great because I think publicly searching for things is such a great way to like get an advantage, and B, put a target on your back. Like I'm really looking forward to the future seasons where people or future episodes where people literally run off from the challenge to like go look for something. I think that's going to be very fun. So I'm a big fan of that twist. I think it's great, and I think the couple that we got in this episode were very solid, Jess with her couple necklaces and things like that. So I think it's a great start, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that twist goes.
This was
Yeah.
definitely like when I believe it was, I think Kelly Wentworth was the first person to do something like add a challenge and find like on the CBS show. That was like really exciting and engaging, but it was also like a secretive thing that had never been done before. What I really like is how public this is, and that it could be like at every challenge. It's something that I think the CBS version could never do, because they have this whole thing where they don't want to like distract from the actual they don't want to like derail everything for whatever. But this is a great way for engagement with the actual challenge when you're watching. You're like, oh my god, is someone gonna just like go insane and just like, forget it? Like, oh my god, I don't care. So many interesting things, and I like that it's a degree. I like that you specified, Anders, that it's a degree of like, oh, it could just be like an advantage for the tribe, whatever, or it could be like a triple immunity item. Like, who knows what it could be. So yeah, I agree with Erin. I think there's a lot of. Was this before Game Changers came out? This was 7
All
years
right,
ago, right?
to put in perspective when this season happens. All right, because
Okay.
this didn't happen yesterday. This happened a
Put it on the
little while
timeline.
ago.
A little
This
bit.
was spring 2017. So the chronology of the world at the time, COVID wasn't a thing yet. This is a few weeks after Trump just got inaugurated as president.
Wow.
Oh my
We
god.
this is the first semester of that happening. And the season that is about to come out is Survivor Game Changers. But there's no relation between the two. So we haven't seen Suri get completely Suri'd out. We haven't seen the amazing season Survivor Game Changers. We are simply existing in this world using the title of Game Changers as advantages.
Yeah, this is
Wow.
like how there's like a bunch of Spider-Mans all at the same time.
For
No,
sure.
it's true.
Yeah.
I really like.
And
sorry, you go, Naomi.
I was gonna say I can't wait till Sierra Dawn Thomas comes through a portal and enters the game. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Fan
Favorite
favorite.
Game changer.
Yep.
Sierra Dawn Thomas. Yep. Shane, after you.
Oh, what I was gonna say is that just kind of building off of George's point, I liked how there were two game changers. Like, I didn't expect there to be two, and they were both very different from each other. Like, the one that Magenta got, I believe, was
Magesta.
Magesta. My head. Okay.
I love
Blue's best friend, Magenta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magesta. The one that Magesta got was really smart for them not to use in that challenge, because now, I mean, if they feel not confident or they just want to extend their life in the game another week, that could potentially help them out. And then Jess finding the immunity necklaces and then giving one to Tony via Andrew's connection, I thought was a really honestly smart decision to get like a block of 2 on your side early in the game, especially when she was kind of heckling. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But also just like seeing in next week's preview, like, it seems to me that like Tony is still kind of learning how to play the game and like doesn't know what he should do with like the necklace and toying with giving it to someone else. Like, I think that there are a lot of really interesting scenarios that can come from that. And so I'm really excited to see where that goes and like what the other game changers are and how long they last.
Yeah, Shane, I think you misspoke. It was when Jess was mothering that she found the immunity necklace.
Oh, good.
So-
Okay, so we have a Jess. We have a Jess stand in the
Jess
chat.
Nation rise.
Jess Nation.
rise.
We're
I will say, at that point in the episode, I was not yet a Jess stan.
I
By
was
the
not
end of the
either.
episode, fully turned around.
I'm wibbly wobbly. I don't know. We'll see.
I've fully turned around on her.
Look, we'll come
I'm
back
fully
to
Team Jess.
who you're rooting for and all of that. Let's first talk about winner take all as the theme of the season. So obviously you get a little bit in the beginning of Eric going, so what do we think the theme is? When you hear the theme winner take all, the first things you might think of are ABBA or this isn't really a theme and what the fuck are you talking about? And that's fair.
And isn't that every season?
And isn't that kind of what's a guts and glory?
What's a hero? What's a hustler?
So the whole, well, let's not get into the heroes, healers, and hustlers of it all. So
Healers.
in season 7, obviously, if you watched it, it didn't have the most thrilling and dynamic strategy in the world. But it was. I loved it. I'll love it till the end of time.
It was fun
but
with
as a
conflict, I have
reaction-
to tell you.
As a reaction from that season, I went, we need to make this next season more dynamic and we need to give them reason to be playing harder. So the first thing we did is we brought in returnees because no one knows how to play college Survivor. No one's like innately born with the skills to play Survivor. It's a weird game. It's complex. Talking to people and setting up meetings and strategizing isn't a natural thing we all do. But if you've played before, you understand that concept. So you bring in people who know how to do it. They're going to do it, and monkey see, monkey do. The new players will do it as well. I mean, but that's it. The second part is we could have brought in 10 returners. But in a game like this, knowing how to play is the biggest advantage in the world. You bring in 10 returners, they are going to they're just going to wipe the floor with every newbie because they just know how to play better. But if you bring in fewer returners and more newbies, the returners have to play harder. They start on the back foot. So day one, you can't be sitting around going, we're good, we're safe, because you saw in this episode, the newbies can just go, well, there's 6 of us, we have more number, we win. So the returners have to play hard, they have to make alliances, and then the newbies see it, they're going to start playing harder. And then finally, the game changers. Advantages can do a lot. You put in too many, it ruins the game. We saw that in the season of Game Changers, but if you put in just enough to give someone in the minority or in a bad position the ability to shift everything, suddenly the game has more dynamics. All right, we don't want to watch a steamroll. We want to watch things change. So you give people opportunities. And I can't say whether or not the Game Changers will do that, but you got to at least give them the option, right? We all remember last season, Eric Yang or Eggroll having that steal a vote was a big effect in a tribal. It did immediately kill him, but like it was a good thing to have in case he wanted to use it. So I guess what are all of your takes on this sort of split returnee newbie format on only 8 returnees on this whole situation?
I do want to say, first of all, in my notes, one of the things I wrote down was just egg roll, end of statement. Because I was
you're
like,
talking about a steamroll. I'm talking about an egg roll.
Exactly.
Egg roll.
Exactly. Because I was like,
Where
that's
did that
great,
come
Eric.
from?
He asked,
Oh.
he asked Anders, like when Anders was like calling the names for the tribes, he was like, you can call me egg roll.
No, I got that. I just like want to know like why.
Look, we had 3 Erics.
Too many Erics, too many Dylans, too many everything.
I think Eric was like, how can I make these people look as racist as possible? And I respect that.
Look, he asked for it. It's in the footage. He asked for egg roll, and let's make that clear.
Yeah, I love that you put it in the title sequence
So
just to like remind
Exactly,
everyone
just to
every
make
week.
sure.
In parentheses,
Not
too.
my
But no,
decision.
yeah.
Good call.
But
Yeah.
regarding that, I think it's very smart to have fewer returnees than like new players, just for the reasons you said, Anders, just because they do have more footing, they do have a better understanding of what they're in for. And especially these players in particular who all made it like varying depths into the game, some, to the end, some maybe not as far, but still, had some slight power behind them or some fans. And I think, one person that I noted as like being probably doing what I would have done in a returnee position, it was Faith, because she really like took that in stride. She was like, I've done this before, like everybody, this is what we need to do, like these are the possibilities, this is what it is. And it's like that could go one of 2 ways. It could get you shot, like it could be you shooting yourself in the foot of people being like, oh, you think you know better than me. It depends on the egos of your newbies. I think if she was surrounded by a bunch of newbies that had big egos, they'd be like, why do you think you can tell me what to do just because you're a returnee? But I think she had a good group of people that were actually like willing to learn. And I think she's going to be in a really good spot to like, people are going to want to go to her to be like, okay, Faith, like I want you to kind of like take me under your wing. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I think she really is the one more than anybody else, in my opinion, that took advantage of that returnee position.
Yeah.
It reminds me so much of Survivor Philippines in like a good way, where it's like you only have 3 returnees and people immediately want to gang up on them, but then it kind of changes. They realize that it's a useful person to have around camp until it's not, which I'm excited to see when it's suddenly not so useful to have returnees in the game. But I thought it also forces people who have played Survivor before to not play complacently, which is the goal of returnees, right? You don't want returnees to the game to be like, well, it's 10 fans versus 10 favorites. I know what I'm going to do. Vote all of them out. So I thought it's the perfect blend of both sides of it. And I don't know why you were worried about this cast, Anders, coming to play, because the minute that JS and Jess are getting in a fight in the first challenge, I was like, perfect. This season's off to an amazing start.
Oh my God, when they hugged afterwards and then Jess just like looked at the camera, I was like, oh.
He said like,
That's
I
what
like
she
your
was.
vibe or something. He was
I like your
oh
vibe.
no. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
like, oh no, don't worry. I like your vibe. He's like clearly like taking a mental note. Like, I'm going to kill her the second I get a chance. So good. Yeah, no, I think having that split and making it uneven is really good. We've seen this everywhere. We've seen this on Big Brother as well, season 13. But the split casts like can work in different ways depending on how it works. And I think Survivor, it works way better because of tribal dynamics. And I totally agree that having those people that are like kind of having like the motherly roles are like in a, two different, mindset role where it's like either you're going to just be a big threat or you're going to have people that are going to be able to follow you. You see the opposite happen kind of with Katie. Luckily, she doesn't go. But where it's like off the bat, winner take all, there's one winner. It's, this is Katie take all. Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And it's a interesting position to immediately start everyone off the gate. I think it's also interesting because, especially with College Survivor, you have varying degrees of people when they're not returners who even know the game, let alone know who these people are. So you have some people being like, I, want to revel at the feet of anything Katie does. And then you have some people where they're like, I actually think it's a novel concept to not tell people about my number one ally. Like Sam talking to people being like, I think we should not tell people we're talking together. It's like, okay, yeah, for sure. So it's very interesting to have basically 3 different tiers. You have people who don't even know necessarily the game. You have people who know the game and know the people they're playing with. And then you have people who have played before. It's just like, adds a lot of intrigue.
Also,
Look, sometimes you walk in the workroom and you see Katie Ann, aka Sasha Colby, and you're like, well, this is the game I'm playing and I've got to figure it out.
Also, the other thing with like College Survivor in particular, I think is like when we have returnee seasons on like CBS Survivor or where they bring in a couple of returnees, like those are people that sometimes they've brought back time and time and time again. So far in like the College Survivor sphere, we've either had like an all-star season or like they bring back like a couple returnees and then like the rest of the cast is newbies. So this is the first time that like we're getting like a real like big crop of returnees in a season. And I feel like a lot of the like big viewer complaints that we see like when returnees come back is like, oh, like this person graduated or like they're not here anymore. And like I think it's a great thing to put in a lot of returnees like Made or George.
It's like, are you targeting? Are you adding somebody?
Whatever.
The usual complaints I have about returnees, it's like we're bringing them back.
They're
They're so old.
They're so old.
I think that it's great. Like I think that like bringing returnees in, like especially like people that were so beloved, Katie, Sherry, like having those types of people. I'm not gonna say that. Having those types of people on a season are just so they elevate it. And I think that had a lot to do with like this episode and why it was so great. I mean, like, wow, just watching Katie again, you're like, okay, like I saw why she won and I see why she can win again.
Dream come true. Dream come true to see Katie play again. Oh my God. Fairy tale.
And the thing about it is like, why would Katie come back? She's already won. I will say at this time, Guts and Glory had just come out, and like the reaction online, there was a loud contingent that was very pro Alex Pascal and very anti Katie. It was like she betrayed him, and if he had been there, she would have lost because she's not a good player, blah, blah, blah. And like the truth is, that's an opinion that is held, but it's not necessarily the correct opinion. So Katie's like, no, fuck it, I do want to come back. Like, I want to prove that I'm not just like the balloon.
It's a Michelle Fitzgerald situation, in my opinion.
Exactly.
It's a total Michelle. Like she completely deserved it, but like the reaction is not there, and she's, you can see that she's already felt it. She states that she's already felt it. So
yeah.
Which is so funny because half this cast reveled at.
Yeah.
Like
they're
they were like,
quaking. Oh, Katie's coming. Oh no! Like
Meisner,
Eric Meisner is
I'm
begging.
so over Meisner. I have 3 notes about Meisner, and they're all bad. I can't stand that guy.
He tried to save himself, or he's like, I love Katie too. It's like,
no,
all right,
I know.
All
I'm
right.
like, really? You go to the other tribe, and you're like, by the way, vote Katie out. Like this is like Alex Rodriguez playing in the minor leagues. You know what?
That's
they have to
funny,
fucking
though.
do that sometimes when they get hurt. So like, leave her alone.
also,
Sometimes
A-Rod is
baseball players do have to play in the minors.
A-Rod is such a funny choice, by the way. Like you know,
Yeah.
you don't have any player for the Nationals that like you could call upon or something. Like it just, I thought A-Rod is such a hilarious pick.
It
for,
really
like,
makes
who's
me
the
think he's
GOAT of
not a
baseball.
baseball fan. Yeah. He's like, let me think of one baseball player that I know. Got it.
He saw Katie and just started Googling immediately. And then after the challenge was over, he's like, I
Good
got a
metaphors.
line to
Yeah.
tell these guys. Yeah.
So
Oh my
let's talk a little bit about the players themselves. Let's talk a little bit about Maesta, because I think we didn't get as much content about them this episode. We got introduced to a bunch of people, but let's just focus on Maesta, the Purple Tribe. So what are we thinking about these players? We got a lot about Jack, we got a lot about JS, a little about Tony, a little about Meisner. We have Sam, we have Miranda, and then we've got the 4 returnees of Sherry, Eric Eggroll, Mike, and Faith.
Jack Nation, rise up. Love Jack. I think she's also one of the only people in the cast that like saw the returners and was like, I'm gonna reach out to them, and actually maybe it's smart to play with them. Like I feel like a lot of this cast was actually like, we should just get the returnees out. But I think that there are a lot of like, either if you want that or you don't, either way, it's still good to be in their good graces. Just
So
so
real.
like
I
you're
agree.
not.
I
Yeah, so
agree.
true.
Yeah.
I love Jack.
Oh,
Same.
let's take a moment to talk about Sherry is back.
Crazy.
Sherry, darling
Love
of season
Love
4,
Sherry.
robbed goddess.
Yes.
She has come back.
Queen. I love that.
I remember sitting in like my parents' basement watching Sherry on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, wow, I guess I'll never see this person ever again. And now I'm like, here we are. Like it was crazy to see her, and I'm very happy.
Yeah,
She
the
comes
best
in
part about
she comes in with her umbrella and goes, "Are you guys new?" Sherry had my favorite quotes of the episode being, "Are you guys new?
Go
Freshman girl,
Come on,
go,
freshman girl,
spirit."
hear it.
And then twist, wind. She's endlessly iconic. Anyways, continue.
Correct.
Well, I was just gonna say, the best part about this episode for me is that I would see a player I liked and be like, "Wow, I like that player," and then they would team up with somebody else I liked, and I'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like Sherry and Jack talking, and I was like, "Yeah, like let's go!"
A queen off.
Yeah,
it was great.
So
It was
true.
Yeah.
2 women coming together to maximize their joint slay. It was perfect.
Exactly.
I thought that also I loved Sherry and I loved Faith. I thought that everybody came in quite humble, which is very hard, I think, for returnees to do. And it's like, yeah, I almost won my season, and honestly, I was robbed. Everybody came in very like, I think I can do better, and here's where I'm planning to do better. I think the Maesta tribe is going to be a disaster when they go to tribal council, and I cannot wait. I'm frothing at the mouth for it. But at the same time, I was so glad they're safe because I could not handle that this first episode.
No, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I think also Jack's list. I loved her list of like her survivor goals. I was like, Jack's list, best college survivor list out there by far.
Yeah, great graphics, Anders.
Yes,
a very humble
good job.
list too.
It
was
is,
really
yeah. I
very
was like,
humble.
yeah, those are the goals of Survivor. Like, go off, Jack.
It was
And I
really,
love, yeah.
if she just won the game, like she accomplished everything on
Yeah.
the list. It's really just point A, B, C, D, and then E. Like I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think she did great, and I think she's making really good inroads with like pretty much everybody, which is really good. I think Jack's doing a fantastic job, and yeah, I think that all of the returnees are doing well. Yeah. JS threw up a lot of red flags for me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, Mike is your favorite returnee? Interesting. Red flag. And also saying like he said she'll never win about Sam. He was like, yeah, she's never gonna win. I'm like, you have not even been to a tribal. It is week 1. Nobody's been voted out. What do you mean she's not gonna win? Like the game hasn't even started yet. So he's gonna be a mess. And yeah,
But we're gonna love it. We're gonna
that's
love
my thoughts
the
about
Yeah.
JS at the moment.
Yeah, I had wrote camp counselor down, and then like 5 minutes later, he was like, "Yeah, I'm like a tour guide." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah.
He's gonna be one of those people that I just feel like every single decision that he makes, we're gonna be like, wait, what? But also in the most wildly entertaining way possible. And I think that he like doesn't have bad game sense. So like there were some moments where I was like, oh, like you're playing the game well. But I mean, honestly, all I want in this lifetime is for him and Jess to be a duo. That's all I want. That's all I need.
There's no shot. There's no shot. They want each other's heads on spikes.
No, it's true, they do. But one can dream. One can dream. But he also clocked Jack, which I thought was interesting because no one else, at least from the edit that we saw, really was kind of like clocking the fact that she is going to be like talking around. Like she's great. The one thing that I noticed was like, oh, like she's really making her rounds socially, and like if people catch on to that, like that could be a problem for her. But I think she'll be okay. But he did notice that, which I found interesting.
Anders, I just want to ask you where you found Meisner. Like, was he Was he just on the quad holding a sign, yelling about something? Like, where did he come from?
Is at the Apple store.
You know, I would say that
Oh, please.
Meisner is such a special individual. There's no one like him, and sometimes you interview someone and you go, I don't think they're going to play this game, but I think they're funny. So in that way, I'm going to bring him on and just sort of hope he's there for a moment. So
you were lying in the beginning when you said, I think you're all winner. I think all of you can
win.
win.
I
Any
can't
of
be
you
like,
can win.
except for you. Look, Eric Meisner came in and did exactly what you'd want. He came in completely unprepared for any physical challenge. He immediately went to the other tribe and went, get out a player on your team.
He said, and then he said, I don't want to run through it about the fountain, and then he fell in. That was really funny to me. I loved that.
Yeah.
Favorite moment.
I told them wear athletic clothes, so he wore his Penguin Merrill dress shoes, as you would.
And he had to make it known that he did. He's like, I just want everyone to know, like, I did this. Like, I'm sacrificing a lot here. Go barefoot.
Yeah, real.
Yeah.
Look, it takes all kinds.
Also,
look, some people
that, like,
ran across in jeans, and some didn't.
You know, you gave him the Chiron like Hinman CEO, and like he was really living up to that.
Oh no, Hinman CEO is a program at UMD. Like it's specifically for young entrepreneurs, like who are creating or selling products. So
yeah,
I'm not making an ironic joke. That's the thing he was a part of. The ironic jokes are like very tall or could beat you up. His is just a real club.
He just really lived up to that. Like the shoes.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, yeah, you're fitting
and the
that.
smartwatch.
Yeah, he talked about his shoes and his watch. Like we're already there.
No, he said no smartwatch. He was anti-smartwatch.
He was
But he has one
while wearing one.
Yeah.
So
he said it's the most superfluous accessory he has.
I don't agree. Fun fact: I quite literally bought a smartwatch because of College Survivor. Because I worked at a restaurant and I was like, I can't miss text messages, so I'm getting a smartwatch.
That's too good.
I think that the best part about Meisner is that he feels like he's on an episode of Shark Tank for some reason.
That's so
like,
real.
While playing Survivor, and I love it. I mean, you had some great like I don't give a fuck energy from some players. Like the guy who walked away, like challenge over, and he said, "All right."
Oh, Winnick.
Winnick,
Winnick take all.
Literally, what did I write down?
Winnick took his ass out of the challenge once it was done. He said, "I'm going home."
Look,
I wrote Winnick talking about his challenge prowess and then dipping, kind of iconic.
Like, I think I literally did the best.
Like, I did great. He was like, I was the best at the challenge. I got there so fast. I made up so much time.
Look,
good job.
King said, I did my part. Goodbye.
Went to the dining hall. He was like, I got homework. My homework, dinner right now. Here we go.
It's
didn't he say he was gonna go like somewhere else and then he went to the dining hall?
He said he was going to do homework and then he went to the dining hall, which is funny because they also just went to go get food, so he just didn't do that.
Kind of iconic.
I'm honestly surprised that like we didn't see him get pitched for.
I know. I was just gonna say that.
He did good at the challenge.
Clearly.
Wait, okay. I want to answer this question really quick. This is a great question about the 8 returning players. So you're probably looking at these 8 returning players and you're going, sure, Katie and Sherry, that makes sense. This is their last semester, you bring them back. Mike, this is his last semester. I went, he's a competitive guy. Let's bring him back. He can probably do better if he has a little bit of knowledge that he kind of stuck himself in one hole and that was it.
Yeah.
It was also Morgan's last semester, and Morgan's the kind of person who you just love to listen to her. She's very funny. And I think she was aware she just didn't do enough her first time. So it's like she knows that. She knows how to play. She'll apply herself. And then the non seniors, I mean, Doug got robbed. Well, okay, actually he didn't get robbed. He rightfully lost. But Doug is someone that is so polarizing. And
Yeah, you gotta have Doug.
I wanted Doug again to prove that like Doug isn't just he's a great player. He doesn't need his friends to prove he's a great player.
Oh no!
I wanted-
According to Morgan, he's a mediocre player.
He's a
actually.
mediocre. Well, and
That
she's
was
great
so
at reading.
funny.
Eric Eggroll, like I love the guy. I think he's so fun. I think he's
Yeah.
incredibly perceptive and well spoken. And he just had a really bad draw in season 7, so I wanted to give him another chance. And then Faith, I mean, I love Faith. I think she's fantastic all around. She's incredibly physical. She's a competitor. She is fun. If you didn't watch New Beginnings, she makes tribals so fun.
Yeah.
She'll just be there being like, so you said this thing. What did you mean by it? Like, she just loves to cause drama. And I said, she got second place. Let's give her another chance when she's not a freshman. Finally, you have Dylan, who Dylan was a main character on season 6. And at the end, he sort of, when a girls' alliance existed, he just couldn't really fight against it. You know, sometimes women win. And that's how it is. There's a girl's priority sometimes. This season, it's a priority to get rid of them. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's a priority not to.
It's like the
So-
Titanic going down. Women and children first.
Oh,
And that's how they play this game. But yeah, the two tribes, I split up seasons and then I split up really strong connections. So like
Yeah.
Eric and Doug weren't going to be on
Yeah.
the same tribe, and Morgan and Mike weren't going to be on the same tribe. And then
Tony and
I feel like you're not going to put Mike and Doug together. I just don't think that's smart after Doug did vote out Mike in a more clear way. So that's why. And then
Were there a lot more other people that have like that you?
what
were
a good question
considering?
that's also been asked. There were others considered, but I think when looking at it, I prioritized the seniors and I prioritized people that I felt really had a strong story that I wanted to see continue. So there will be more, but in the future, just for season 8, I felt like these 8 were solid. So any other thoughts? What about Sam? What about Tony, Miranda?
I would like Miranda to beat me up. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Damn.
No, I think she's great. I think she's going to become like a funny character. I mean, it's one thing to have Jess come in and bother the tribe. It's another thing to be like, what should I do? Physically restrain this person. Like, it's so funny. And I cannot wait to know more from her. She's just got that like no bullshit attitude from players that I loved, like Alex and like Daniela, where it's just like, yeah, I have absolutely no BS for this moment right now. I'm just going to give it to you exactly how I feel. And I thought that was great. And I'm very excited to see where she goes.
Jess is someone who I think that like, especially in College Survivor, like more towards Endgame is always in a tough position because they're very vocal. They're gonna say everything. They're gonna specifically tell people things they shouldn't. But like early on, that kind of a person is actually really good at breaking down barriers of like that first conversation where you're like, how do I start talking strategy with people? It just is like, who cares? Like, let's talk in a stairwell and just like chat about this for some
Oh
reason.
my god. Wait, speaking of that, one of the funniest conversations to me was when Sam and JS were talking in the stairwell, and Sam was like filming JS like it was a confessional.
I was like, people
But she was
walking
just
up and down the
talking.
stairs
Yeah, and then she
around
like passed him the phone when she was talking. I was like, that was cinema. That was cinema.
Something that wasn't shown because it just didn't really fit, but is very funny, is like, so we're filming them for the first day, and like we've got a bunch of crew with cameras looking at the players. Sam rolls up with her camera in her hand filming them because she thinks that's what she's supposed to do.
Oh,
And it's like, oh no.
oh, I love
She's
her.
amazing.
Also, her tumbling during the challenge, you hate to see it, but
Yeah.
but she was fine.
You
So
don't
let's
see people doing that.
let's switch to the tribe that went to tribal, where I think we got a bigger view of everyone. Let's talk about Sababa, which has, we have Katie, we have Doug, we have Dylan, we have Morgan, and then we have the 6 newbies: Sabrina, Fish, Winnick, Jess, Andrew, and Michaela. What are our feelings? Who do we like? Who stuck out this episode?
I mean, Jess obviously was like
Jess.
yeah, front runner, like, yeah, such a standout. I think she did great. Like, I think Sabrina really took the fall for Jess setting things up, which was so funny. Like, I was like, yeah, Jess literally was setting up Doug versus Fish. That was all her.
Yeah.
And then like everybody was like, Sabrina, why would you do that? Like, why are you talking to everybody?
It is tough because Sabrina like was doing like a very good like kind of week one thing where it's like, okay, she doesn't want to be the one that's like throwing a name out there. So what she says is she's like, oh yeah, Fish kind of mentioned these people, and it's like it's a kind of a white lie. It's a little bit of a fib. They were both discussing it, and she was kind of pushing Doug. But like once that starts getting out there, like it's so unfortunate that she takes the fall for it because yeah, she was kind of pushing an agenda and she almost got away with it. But there's something to be said about returner season, especially where there's less of them, where the people who do well, typically, weirdly enough, are the ones that start allying with them and then eventually like take them out down the road. But early on, those people that are like the most connected with them typically do better. So you have these people that are basically like clamoring to give information to the returners like out the gate. And Jess was just one of those people who just really wanted to give every bit of detail. And once all those dots started to get connecting, Fish realized he's like, oh, damn, I'm kind of being, I don't know. It's weird because Sabrina had Fish's best interests, kind of, just was kind of pushing him a little bit further forward as a target. I think they would have worked well together. But I think he just wanted, once he had his name out there, he was like,
He went full panic. Yeah.
yeah, he
And
went full panic.
The thing is, what really turned the tide against Sabrina wasn't the fact she was throwing Fish's name around or using other people's names. It was the moment that someone came to her and said, okay, well, your name is out there. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And if I truly think, had Sabrina been like, then I think we need to go for Fish, I think Fish goes here. I think the fact that she takes Katie,
she shut down
saying,
Katie immediately.
Trust Katie.
Because I
The way
think
that-
I think that Sabrina in her mind set up like, okay, it's newbies versus returnees, like that's what we're doing, that's how we're rolling. So she
Right.
intrinsically was like, how could I possibly trust a returnee? Like they're obviously against us. So I think that she like set herself up for that. But it's like, yeah, if somebody's coming to you saying like, hey, your name is out there, your name's probably out there.
Yeah, I feel like
Probably
that's the number one
absolutely.
thing that's like not being lied about. You know, if someone is like, "Hey, I want to give you information to let you know that like you should be nervous," you can't be like, "No, they just want me to be nervous to be nervous." What's the point of that? What's the goal?
Right.
I mean, but I thought Sabrina was like, I laughed out loud during that phone call because it was such a funny way to interpret what you had been setting up. Like you're literally saying Doug's name and you think that there's no way in hell that your name could come up because Doug you know what I mean? Like it's Doug. It is the second place player of his season for a reason.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, this has no blowback on me. I don't know why this is coming to my plate. Iconic. I love Sabrina. I thought she's so funny.
That was so silly. I was watching that like, what on earth? Like, even if you don't believe that Katie's telling the truth, you don't say that. You at least act like, oh my god, thank you so much for bringing that information to me. Like, what do you think we should do?
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that.
I don't know.
She's like, well, nobody said my name to my face, so I don't know.
I will say, I know that it was like he was doing a lot, but I was impressed with the fact like once Fish heard his name, he was like, oh, I gotta step it up. And like I really thought at first that like he and Sabrina were gonna be like working together. So the fact that he had enough game sense to like realize, okay, she's the one causing this, or at least he thinks that she's causing this, and to know like, okay, I need to at least like dispel this narrative and get people sort of questioning whether or not, you know, she's really trustworthy. And then even if they're still unsure, they have this, you know, doubt in their mind that, oh, maybe Sabrina is just causing chaos. And eventually it did work out for him because they brought it back to her and she showed Katie that maybe she wasn't that trustworthy. So, I mean, that was a good episode played by him.
Yeah, I think Fish had a great recovery. I think that he was like, kind of unjustly thrown under the bus. Like just trying to like Sabrina saying like he's putting this out there, even though he like kind of was considering it. But I think he had a great recovery, and like getting together unanimous vote at that point, I think was exactly what he needed to do. Of saying like, listen, like if these people are trying to make it, returnee versus newbie, let's not do that. Let's go forward as a united front. And I think I think he recovered super well and did exactly what he needed to do there.
Well, he also had the benefit of targeting the number one person. Like Sabrina had targeted the number one person who will not let it slide if you're coming for him, which is Doug. Like Doug is a petty grudge holding MF, and she picked the wrong. Like if you're gonna go for it, because I do think people were interested in the idea, especially as we see the girls' priority exists. Like, yeah, we do want to work together. So what can we do here? And if Sabrina had pushed for Doug, I don't know how you feel, Anders. Do you think it might have like gotten some more traction if she just kept steady and sort of said to Katie, "Well, if my name's out there, we should vote for Doug"?
I think that you were always going to have the returners not want to vote out Doug. I think what was more likely than Sabrina going is Fish going in this sense. I think more this early on, there isn't that allegiance of the 6 newbies. I think you had Jess and Andrew probably more likely to vote out Fish in this scenario. Just like, hey, look, we're not getting the best vibes. And like, yeah, he's kind of saying a lot of shit. Like, even if it's not go for Doug. I think Fish could have gone here easily. I think Fish absolutely recovered. I think you guys are right. And Sabrina bungled it. Like, it was everything in her favor, and she refused to want to work with the returnees. She was so dead set on one of them has to go.
Yeah, the difference between what Fish and what she did was so, obvious. And Fish even specifically states it, where it's like, oh yeah, like the returners already have this information that we've been talking about them. Gotcha. So they have a lot of allies already, and clearly the newbies are not going to be as tight as they are. They already have this information. I need to be a part of whatever they have going on, or I'm going to be left behind. So I gotta lose the dead weight and move on. Like it's really tough. But you are right. Like these returners coming in with lesser numbers is almost a blessing in disguise, because they're coming in like needing to work together. The newbies don't necessarily need to work together. So it's a tougher position to be in. But I think Fish definitely did the correct thing.
Yeah, what got me about that too, though, was it's like the returnees kind of all like took offense to Fish trying to save himself. Like they were like, who is this guy like trying to tell us what to do or whatever? And I'm like, he's literally just trying to save his own ass. He knows his name is out there and he's suggesting a vote to you. Like, what do you mean he's like pushing you around or whatever? They took that, I don't know, they took that way too far.
Look, me and Eric are gonna vote together. Oh well, I can name people too.
Exactly. Like he was like, oh my god, like congratulations, you got like you have you have the votes or whatever. And it's like, that's not even what he said. He just said he like thought he could have.
I thought the way that he did it was smart too. Like he knew that she was potentially tossing his name out there, and he didn't go on a slander campaign being like, Sabrina was pushing my name. Like he was like, this is about challenge priority. I thought that was really smart. And I actually laughed out loud when he called her out at Tribal. Like, I thought that was so funny.
Oh, that's why you gotta love newbies too, is they don't know that sometimes you should be a little quiet. Like him just saying, yeah, I think Sabrina and Morgan were the weakest. And you see Dylan just go like, oh.
But also like Morgan, I think, had a lot to do here, lest we not forget, because Morgan's name was also out there. Terrible move for Fish to be like, yeah, so the person we're gonna vote out, and then one other person who's clearly aligned with all of the return. I thought that was such a funny, like, don't say Morgan.
Yeah, that was bad.
Wait, before we talk about Morgan, let's talk about Eric Winnick really quick. Winnick take
Why?
all. Because I want to talk about one moment that it's the funniest moment in my mind is when Sabrina goes, yeah, I mean, like, Fish was saying we take out Doug or Morgan. And then Eric Winnick goes, Morgan. And then the next shot is him with the phone with Morgan on it and then going, just like, literally he went, let me call the manager really quick. This cannot happen. And being the one to be like, no, Sabrina said that, not Fish.
Yeah, true. That is true.
That was kind of a turning point too.
Actually.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
that,
all you
that was
haters
really
of
smart.
Winnick, maybe you need to remember it's Winnick take all, and he called Morgan, and he's a king for that.
Winner
I really
take
did think-
call. Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
We haven't really talked about Andrew really at all either, and I guess his connection with like the Jess and Tony thing, but he was
And
kind of
Katie.
yeah.
I think that's funny.
I think Andrew silently did a good job this episode as well. I
Mhm.
think he
Mhm.
just made some good inroads with a lot of people. Felt like he was being brought underneath the wing of people like Katie, and then also forged stuff with like newbies, where he was like, okay, I have this relationship on the other side, and Jess is telling me about this advantage. Like, this is a great way to get us all together. He was basically, hey, why don't you help my friend out over there, huh? Why don't you give him immunity? What are your thoughts on that? And it worked. So
Yeah,
He
Andrew
gives me
came
golden
in and
retriever
said,
vibes.
yes,
Yeah.
Andrew came in and said, I'm gonna work with Katie on, and I respect that, and that's exactly what everybody should be doing. And yeah, I agree. I think Andrew's setting himself up super well. Like, obviously he has this cross tribal thing with his roommate, and like, yeah, securing his roommate immunity. Well, maybe if he doesn't give it away, but like securing his roommate immunity is at this first tribal is like very huge. And I think he did, great at building inroads. He's got a cross tribal thing going. Like, I think, I see Andrew making a very deep run.
Wait,
So who gave him best smile?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wrote that
Yeah.
down because he had it. He was like, we heard a phone call he was on with like Fish and like somebody else, I think.
Sabrina.
And like, yeah, Fish and Sabrina. And he was just recording himself on that phone call. And I was like, Andrew, if you're going to record yourself on a call, be expressive. Like, he was just sitting there talking. And I was like, if you're on a call, just make faces at the camera, you know?
we
like,
also
we're
know
watching something here.
Doug should be best smile because that's the only thing he does is just like he's constantly like
Literally can't shut his mouth.
That
Yeah.
is
he's just
true. That
constantly
is accurate.
He's
Yeah.
not a villain, guys. He's never back.
He's not a villain.
Not a villain.
What is
Could
it?
not
Who was like the
be.
smiling assassin? Which reality show was that
Ethan.
from?
That was
Ethan.
us.
Yeah.
That was Jamie. Wait, going back to Andrew real quick, can we just talk about like how so at least at our school, like it doesn't surprise me when people know each other because we're a much smaller university, but like everybody seemed to just like have like not like everybody knew Katie on of course they had like the season to go off of, but like on top of that, like people went to like high school together, and then we had like the roommates which seemed to be known, like these relationships were known, like what?
So no, the high school thing is they are both from a small town in Pennsylvania. That's just luck, all right. That just happens.
That's just wild.
The like so people knew they were roommates because they just sort of mentioned it to people. It's not like people know; they just said it.
Why?
It's happened.
I mean,
people are gonna.
I mean, in a season with returnees who obviously
yeah.
all know each other, I think that these kinds of relationships are a little bit less
True.
dramatic.
I do think
That's
though.
true.
I do think though something that we're not thinking about is that I think Tony honestly might be in a reverse like bad situation.
Mhm.
Situation where going into the next tribal, like he's gonna walk into like if they ever go to tribal, I mean most likely they'll go to tribal at some point. They're gonna go in the tribal and he's gonna be like, I have immunity, and people are gonna be like, what the fuck? And he's gonna be like, well, someone on the other tribe gave it to me, and then everyone's gonna be like, why is that? Oh, it's because your roommate has deals going on over there. And I think that like although it makes him safe for this next tribal, I do think this could be a problem where people would be like, he already has a situation going on with multiple people over on the other tribe.
Well, on top of that, like what I was saying earlier, like in the preview, he was talking about like we can decide who to give it to. Like save that for yourself. That's like you don't be Eric Reichenbach.
In like second tribal.
Yeah,
we
Survivor
do.
Michigan season 2 is Eric Reichenbach. I love him.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's talk about we talked about the newbies on Sababa. What about the returnees? Let's start with Dylan, the one-liner king of this episode, where the title of this episode comes from. How do we feel about Dylan? He came back. He gave us some great insight on all the returnees. He's the one to go to. He goes, here's how I feel about Katie. Sherry's back? Whoa!
I love Dylan. I've always been a Dylan stan, unapologetically. I think he's great. I think, he has a great sense for it. He's obviously a good competitor as well. And I think, I think of all of the returnees, he is somebody that might be able to like slide under the radar a little bit more, and he's not going to be like a big, and especially he's surrounded by Katie and Doug, like, yeah, if anything is going to lessen your target, it's going to be that. So I think that yeah, he's in a pretty good spot, and I think he's going to make like, he's obviously in a good spot with the other returnees, and yeah, I think he's going to do great. I hope so.
One thing I noticed. Oh, you go, George.
Okay. I think something also that Dylan has that you mentioned is something that I think all the returners need to have, which is that respect amongst the other returners. Because like, if they have any, I mean, you've already seen things like, Morgan and Doug having that conversation where they're kind of letting bygones be bygones. Who knows if whatever. But like, they need to have the mindset of like, no matter what, we can't have a war until much later. I think Magenta did
Magenta.
No, I said Magenta. God damn it.
You know what? It's a
My
purple. I
impact.
get it.
Impact.
I Magenta everywhere. She says it one time and it's in my brain. Magenta did a really good job with that because it was kind of like pairs, right? Like it was like Eric and Sherry, Faith and Mike, but then also all of them together. And there was kind of like they did a good job insulating themselves. Like, okay, we feel confident in ourselves. And that is really, really important, especially early on, because it is like, I think, really common for half returner seasons to have all of a sudden these big personalities and game players that have seen each other play before want to make like the big statement. You're just like, man, if I could be the one to take out Katie, that would be huge. And they kind of get trigger happy earlier than they should. And so someone like Dylan, I think, has a good concept of like, I'm just gonna be a fan here for a moment. And that, which is, I don't know, I think they told Dylan this, but after Meisner came over and was like, you got to get Katie out, they all went to go get food. Did they tell, they like, all the newbies like told Dylan, right? They're like, oh yeah,
well, Dylan was there. They told Doug. Basically,
gotcha. Okay.
And just to peel the curtain a little bit, Katie immediately after this first challenge went to California for a couple days, so that's why she wasn't at the lunch.
That's
but
tough.
Like, it doesn't matter. She came right back. They told her everything. Like, But yes, everyone knew about this Meisner moment.
Meisner moment.
The Meisner method. Yeah.
One thing that I noticed about Dylan was with all the returnees, like people had lots to say about most of them. Like Katie had a very mixed reception. We have Meisner like telling people to get her out, but then people that want to work with her. We have Doug and Eric Eggroll and Faith. People are a little scared of her. But one person that didn't really get a lot of like heat or just like people talking about him in general was Dylan. And I think he kind of has the we've been saying, the under the radar, even Sherry a little bit too. Like they're kind of like not talked about by returnees because they don't seem to have like real beef with anyone. Maybe Dylan with Faith, but like that's pretty good out of 7 returnees to like only really be like worried about one person. And I think because we didn't get a lot of content where people were talking about Dylan in either regard, you know what I mean? Like I think that's actually probably better because the limelight's not on him. And I think same thing with Sherry, like not a lot of people were talking about her positive or negatively. So I think that's like one thing that I noticed was like everyone else had a lot of attention on them in one way or the other, and those two kind of just like weren't as mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I also think that Dylan Dylan has kind of the perfect Survivor resume to skate through. Like makes the merge, is great to his tribe, but is kind of blind. Like he doesn't really have like the end game that I think people will fear in Doug or Faith or Katie. Whereas someone like Sherry or Eric don't really have that like I had a good footing at one point in the game, and like especially for Eric, and I was able to execute upon that. Dylan's in that sweet spot of like I have all the right experiences, and that's this thing where I'm interested to see where Mike goes, because I think Mike and Dylan are two sides of the same coin. Which is to say they probably, check into the gym at least once a day versus, I loved like some of them, their arms are just really powering them through down the field. And then other people were just like tiny little inchworms going through. It's just like, they're Their arms so scrawny.
You're right.
And it was great. It was great. I love them all. But I think Dylan is in a great spot, and he's also very observant. He was very quick to, I think, notice a lot of things about his tribe, which is so essential to surviving. I think the early days is understanding the dynamics and where you fit into them, which, as we saw, was not Sabrina's strength, as we saw by Tribal Council. So I think Dylan is doing a great job right now.
Let's talk a little bit about Morgan.
Love her.
Other
Morgan.
end of sentence.
I'm a little worried for her just because the newbies did seem to just kind of throw around her name a lot, and if they're looking to maybe not make, in their minds as big of a play as Doug, but they still want to get a returnee out, I'm worried that because her name has already been out there and it's been so publicly out there that could be a worry for her. But I'm really hoping I'm wrong about that, because if she goes pre-merge, I will be absolutely gutted. And I think that if it comes down to it, I feel like she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So I think I just need to see more to get a gauge on how far she's actually gonna go.
It seems like her and Jess have a pretty good relationship, which is definitely good, and I think will help be a bridge for her with the other newbies. And I also don't think she necessarily has a bad relationship with the newbies. And while her name has been out there, it's kind of sometimes you fall into a situation where it's this person's name has been out there, but it didn't work. If it's going to continue to not work, then why would we do it? So I feel like she could definitely recover, and I definitely applaud her for sticking with the returnees, making up with Doug or whatever. But I do also kind of worry for anybody's game sense that says Doug is a mediocre player. Sorry, that's just straight up not true. It's straight up not true. And if you literally played with him and still think that, that's kind of insane in my opinion.
There's some bitter feelings there for
Well,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that I totally agree with you. I think probably playing with Doug versus we watched how we saw every kind of confessional that he gave. What they got at Final Tribal was a very watered down version of that, so they don't probably have that full perspective of how good of a player Doug actually is. So her saying that to me actually makes sense, because she doesn't have all of his thoughts. She knows what he did, but he didn't win. So in her mind, she's like, well, he did something wrong.
And she sure didn't vote for him.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I agree with you that she's lacking the right perception on that, but I think it's because she didn't have the full picture.
What was this Doug picking up a piece of paper situation?
What was
Yeah.
that?
He just,
Girl, I don't know. I don't have
What
footage of that.
was that?
I think he might have found trash. They had 20 minutes. He might have just found trash.
That's
Jess
didn't
thought she
find-
found trash, and Doug did find trash.
Look, when a guy has found as many idols as he has, any little thing, you kind of just take. And even if, there could also be a bit of they don't really believe it, but they just want to push that out there of just remember when he found that piece of paper? That's crazy. That's crazy that he has trash in his pocket. That was so funny. That was such a microcosm of just College Survivor. It's one little rumor. It's remember when day 3 they walked home the opposite way as me? They're dead to me. They clearly are in an alliance with all those other people that they walked away with. That's
But
insane.
sometimes it's true.
Sometimes it's actually very true.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta be on your toes with Doug, especially Doug.
Yeah.
Doug, a
No,
guy
right.
who got away with $1 million. Well, I think you're totally right, George. And you're deluding yourself a little bit. You're coming up with XYZ, and this is exactly what happened, and I'm understanding this whole concept. But also with Doug, he's the one person where I can understand why somebody is terrified of him. It's
fair.
just, I did also love, I could see Tim in the background, Anders filming, and I love seeing everybody who was there. And I was like, Tim came out.
I
He's
think
got
Victoria was there too, right?
Sure was.
Oh my God, legend.
All right, what about Doug? He's on the mind. He's on the tongue. Let's talk about Doug, our sweet, innocent non-villain.
Not
Not a
a villain
villain.
ever. He couldn't be.
That should have
How
been
do we
his.
feel? He comes right back and is immediately targeted. On some level, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I
he?
mean, valid. I think it's fair to target him. 100%.
My question is, because I mean, he obviously like tongue in cheek talks about it a lot, but like, does he believe he wasn't a villain his first time around, or is this just like a funny thing? Like, what does he think he did?
Anders has thoughts.
I mean, sure, he didn't see the edited version, but Doug knows he was the villain. Like,
All right.
he orchestrated so many blindsides,
Yeah.
especially with Eric. Like, that whole episode is him
Oh.
taking down Eric without having to do anything. The way he got rid of Amanda, the way he got rid of Dane, like all of these things, he knows he was a villain, and he knows he was a villain most of all because of what he did at Final Tribal. Like, even if he doesn't know he was like so catty and whatever, he knows he didn't end the season as some sort of great hero.
I will
Good.
say the one thing that was like so fascinating to watch was like, you know, obviously like these seasons have come out like recently in the last couple of years, but like just watching like all the players like even have like semblance of knowledge of like people that have played the game, like Doug, everybody knew his reputation. Like that's before they even started really talking to him. So that was something that was so interesting because like I don't know, from like what I've witnessed where I am, like people don't really know our like returners perceptions. So like the fact that again, big school, everybody knows what's going on. It's wild to me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
Doug.
Andrew actually mentioned that. He was like, I think he applied or something because he would see people out like,
Yeah,
you
he
know,
did
on the
say
quad,
that.
just
He was
like
like, I saw them with their torches or
tiki torch.
whatever.
That's so cool. It's something that's very unique to like, you know, obviously smaller campuses and stuff, but like that was also just really fun to anytime I get to see University of Maryland campus, I'm always happy. But the people that like actually live there, it's kind of nuts that they must just randomly see these huge, insane groups of people just like doing this and being like, I'm kind of interested in that. Like,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
It brings me back to when they were doing like humans versus zombies on campus. But I did not enjoy that. I was like, get these kids off my lawn. Like I was very anti. So I'm impressed that some people were obviously less crotchety in college and decided to, you know, make friends. They're better than I am.
But yeah, Doug is in an interesting spot. I think out of all of the returners on Sababa, he is the most expendable to all of them. Just because, I mean, like, are they really going to be willing to put their games on the line for Doug? Like, that's the big question. Like,
Yeah, what are
I know,
they? His roommates?
I think maybe Katie for now, but like,
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say,
can't
I
see
think
the
he
rest of
definitely has
them.
Katie, who's probably the strongest ally he could have gathered. Um, I am forever and always a Doug stan, so I hope that he like is able to pull it together. And it seems like he is. I think he needs to like. I think he needs to realize that he needs to like work and work with like some newbies. He needs work. But like he needs to like put in the work with the newbies, get to know them, get them on his side too. And I think once he's able to do that, if he's able to like, you know, sprinkle some charm on it, then I think he'll be in a much better spot. But I don't think we saw a ton of like Doug reaching out to the newbies in this episode. So I think once he starts doing that, he's going to be in a much better position.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. We didn't see it besides Morgan. We didn't really see him kind of like building those relationships with
Right.
really anybody.
Anders, with you know, obviously without spoiling too much, do you think that Doug, obviously he went to Australia, so he learned a lot about himself, but do you think Doug had enough time to understand
True.
the conclusion of the season and
he said it
feel
was
like,
what, 3 weeks or
2
something?
months.
It was
I
about
think.
so it ended like it ended right after Thanksgiving, so like early December, and then we came back beginning of February. So
Okay.
It's a couple
it's only
months.
been about 6
All right.
weeks in real time for him. So I think Doug's first season he played exceptionally well. He understood how to create alliances, how to make people trust him, and how to betray them, like how to do all those moves. Where he faltered is that he just didn't make the right end game moves or decisions. He became too powerful and too cocky, and then like relied on elements that he shouldn't have had to rely on. So I don't think he has the most idea, but like he understands how to play the game. And even though he wants to be a good person this time, I don't think he really like is going to do anything different. I think Doug is just going to come in and like not be as crazy villainous because he knows he doesn't have that same leeway with a roommate on the other side and a friend who's going to be loyal to him. Like he
Yeah.
has to rely on people who are just other players.
He doesn't have Doug's mist. You're right.
Yeah,
He doesn't.
having Katie is actually very, very important. I think I think also the reverse is true because I think Katie probably realizes I would love to know her thoughts on her relationship with him because
Meet Shield Alliance.
exactly like a complete and utter like Katie already knows people on the other tribe want her out. So someone like Doug is like the perfect person.
On the other tribe wants her out. Let's just say it's been one person that's been trying to get out Katie on. It has been one person, and that person can leave.
Yeah. So hopefully that's not a big deal, but yeah, you definitely need, especially in someone that's like on your same level of, you can keep like a newbie and that's like a big threat, but what does it mean to be a big threat as a newbie like early on? If you have someone like that, I think they really lucked out having each other on the same tribe. I think they're both the two biggest threats of all of the returners here. I think Faith coming up right behind just because of how, vocal she is about everything. But that relationship is very interesting and I hope it sticks because I think they need each other.
Yeah, I think Katie.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Katie recognizes like how, like, how Morgan was like, Doug's not that great of a Survivor player. I think Katie thought like the opposite. I mean, like, wasn't he on the like right side of like basically every vote but like one or something? Like somebody who like clearly knows what he's doing, made it to the end, almost won, went to a tie. So like he was really close. I mean, for Katie, that's the type of person you don't want to let go because that's the closest person you have to you in terms of like shared experience. So like you can kind of paint that target on him like, hey, Doug's not far behind me. Like he really wasn't. I don't know. I think Katie would probably put like her neck out on the line for him to save her own game. I feel like to like keep him around.
Let's talk about Katie. I mean, Queen comes back with a vengeance. She is here to play. She is the talk of the town. She is crucial in this episode. I mean, she gives some great lines. I love the girl. No one's gonna tell you that you're gonna be voted out. Like I need to tell you.
I think
Bitch.
her voting confessional was my favorite. It was tribal is past your bedtime. Like
Good night.
Good night. So funny. So funny.
Didn't Katie call Fish like a peasant too or something? Oh no,
no. Dylan called him, well, aren't you just a little king?
That's
aren't you a little king? That was so funny. But it's so funny, yeah. I don't even think he was like trying to do that. I think he just was like the little innocent freshman who like was trying to save himself. I was like,
no, exactly. That's why I was like, that was the only time Katie lost me. That was the only time Katie lost me. I was like, he's just trying to fight for himself. Like, leave him alone.
Also, I mean, Katie really, I mean, at least from what we see, I mean, we see the iconic, Survivor Maryland people facing the same way confessional where it's 4 people in a big room and it's all the returners staring at the camera. I always love that moment where it's like they're all facing this way but talking to each other. And Katie really felt like kind of the leader there.
You have a conversation.
As you do. But she did really feel like she was cementing that group for the most part, and like especially going into the vote, like you got to have them on the same page, yada yada yada. So she seems to be the one getting a lot of information from the newbies. She seems to be the one rallying the troops with the people she needs to be with the returners. I mean, it's
even
weird
trying
to say.
Even trying to like extend an olive branch to the person that's like being voted out.
Yeah.
And, being able to cut, because I feel like that was her, like, because that was like after Fish rubbed her the wrong way by trying to save himself. So she was like, hey, Sabrina, by the way, your name's out there. So if you want to do something about it, like, I want to vote out this, little king. So.
Look, that's the real girl. That's the girl's priority. She goes to the girl and says, I don't want to vote you out. And then the girl goes, I don't trust you. And then she goes, bitch.
I haven't heard it.
Well, classic weak one girls alliance that never can get off the ground. So sad. So sad.
It's always there.
That just shows that, like, it just shows you, like, if you don't trust Katie on in this game, you're gone. You're gone. Like,
you're Katie gone.
Oh.
Katie gone.
Like, yes, you fuck with me, you're dead.
That's what I just didn't understand about like Sabrina. I was like, oh my god, just like even just like pretend that you're with her for like 2 seconds. Like it won't hurt you, I promise. Like
So
Oh,
sad.
Sabrina. Sorry, Anders. Someone we haven't really talked about, and I feel bad, but I'm just kind of like, she was the most like, and Michaela's here too of the episode.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah.
very curious where she's gonna fall into everything because it's we saw a lot of very dynamic returning players and new players, and I feel like your intention with this casting is like, let's go, let's play. So it's very interesting that there's somebody who I'm almost like I'm seeing nothing of. And I'm sure that's just because she was not leading this vote. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can lead another vote down the line. But Michaela is somebody where I'm like, where are you going? What are you up to? How are you, Michaela, today? And I felt like she was a non-entity, but I hope that she can become something interesting because I love that they were talking about a girls' alliance. Michaela found nowhere. Michaela,
Look, there are 20 people in this episode. There's so much to get through. I highlighted, I feel like 9 of the 10 on this tribe.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sometimes
She'll
you're
get
not
next
iconically
episode.
calling Morgan Paris or saying Winnick take all, so you're just not going to be in the episode in that way.
No,
That is
sometimes
not the truth. That is not
Literally,
what happened.
I was watching it like my second time, and it was like that lunch scene, and she was like there with the whole tribe, and I was like, "Who is
Yeah,
that?
wait, what?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
she on the tribe?"
Well, same thing like on the other tribe. Like I remember her in the challenge, but like Miranda by the end, I was like, wait, there's a Miranda in this game. Like I totally like.
It's tough. I get it. Also,
There's a
probably
lot of
footage. Who
people.
knows if they,
Yeah,
you never know.
that's the thing with College Survivor. It's like we are working with what people give us. Like
course.
you can only do like so much. Like
Ugh,
I've
don't I
been
know it.
there a million
Listen,
times.
I get it. Editing.
Some editors will decide to make their episodes insanely long and include every conversation they can based on some story they're trying to tell. Whether or not it's entertaining isn't really the question. And I elected to maybe make it more of a specific story
He
highlighting
says
the
at an hour and a
important
half.
Look, it's an hour and a half, and I introduced a hell of a lot. So if you want it
No,
to
you
be
did.
2.5 hours every episode, I'll give it to you. Sorry, I'm fully joking. Also,
It's okay.
someone
I did an hour and a half.
Where's
too.
Where's Ian at? Is Ian here?
asked me, will the secret scenes be uploaded? I hate to tell you, there ain't no secret scenes. If it ain't in the episode, it's not there. I'm not producing extra
It's
things
been
on
like
top.
7 years. Yeah, you're probably like, bro, who are these people?
Look, secret scenes, for those who don't know, are scenes that are put in the full episode and then eventually cut for time. They're not like fun little things that just sort of they make on the side. So for me, when I cut something, I go, this goes to hell with the rest of this content. Whatever makes it out of purgatory, that's what gets on
But
YouTube.
the rest
Everything
of
else,
Michaela's confessionals.
Michaela, not in my episode. Get out.
Yeah, no, I don't think you didn't include her intentionally.
Look, I did a confessional with her and deleted it and went, we won't be needing
You
this.
said never mind.
I want you to waste your whole semester for no reason.
She also does feel, I mean, I guess we don't really know, but she does feel like in that tier with like people like Sam, where it's like, yeah, maybe she doesn't really have like the full game sense yet. Maybe not a huge fan, maybe not like super involved. Like really all we got from her was just like, yeah, I don't really want to go against the returners. And that kind of feels like, just like a very
See, but
standard.
Sam is fun.
Sam is fun.
No offense to.
Well, you don't know that Michaela or Miranda aren't fun yet.
I didn't say anything about Miranda. I
Miranda
like
looked
Miranda.
fun.
She
Who
seemed
was
fun.
Who was it that said that Sam had no chance of winning? I was like,
Oh, that's
JS.
JS. That was
I
JS,
was
and I
like,
was like,
Did
she
we-
seems fun. It is
Did we
week
fully talk about JS, or did we sort of?
Not enough.
not enough.
No,
Did we want to talk about JS a
It
little
was
bit?
enough
Yeah.
for me.
JS feels like JS when he and Jess were fighting, it felt like Reagan versus Rachel on Big Brother. It just felt like, yes, say meme things that will be on the internet forever. Go for it. I loved it. I was living for it. But JS is like so entertaining to me because he is both not holding back and is yet so good at like there's a certain characteristic where you meet with JS and you're like, oh, this person's not holding back. But actually he's smart enough to be holding back. So you think that you're just getting 100% of what he's giving, and that's not necessarily true. So I'm very excited to see what he'll do when given the opportunity. But I'm also a little bit like, don't hitch your horse to the Jess wagon and be like, this is the only thing I care about, because then people get sick of it. I find so fast in Survivor where it's like, oh my God, we get it. You're feuding with someone, move on. And nobody else really cares. So he can't put blinders on. That's my one worry for JS.
That's true. No, you go, George.
Okay.
He just wanted to say that's true.
No. I had more to say, but I was gonna let George go.
Me as a lie detector. That's true.
That's true.
That's true. That was true. I was gonna say that I mean, truly, the tour guide like vibes does come into play here, where it's like it's not a mask, but it really is like when you're talking to people as a tour guide or like a camp counselor, or whatever these types of like roles are, like you are like the most of yourself at all times, but in a way that is like you're saying, like still hiding some stuff. You're like, you're not gonna go around and be like, yeah, I hate that dorm over there. That one sucks. You're like, oh, this is cool. This is nice all the time. And so you're being the best version of yourself you possibly can. So yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot happening there. And I do think if he continues to do it every week, it'll be too much for some people, especially in my opinion, the returners who, although have a good relationship with him, will figure out very soon, or I think they already kind of have, that like he's one to look out for. Anyone talking that much is clearly talking to everyone that much.
Yeah.
So.
And he doesn't have a good relationship with all the returners. He's
Right.
like
Just his favorite.
Just his favorite.
Just his favorite. No.
Well, also,
but like he's clearly already against Eric egg rolls, so like he's like he wants him dead for some reason, like him and Sam and Jess. Like he's just like,
well, you think an egg would roll faster.
I mean,
That
that's fair.
That was a
great line, yeah. But yeah.
Speaking of which, can we just talk about that, like the crawling? Like that was everything. That was everything I needed to watch. Doug, that was hilarious. Like he was struggling there, and then Faith with the cleats. Like, oh my God.
Oh, as she should.
Yeah, I was really worried.
Challenges, we know that.
That it's it's 2017 because everyone is wearing leggings, but also that it's not high-waisted leggings. So I'm just watching this challenge like there cannot be an ass crack right now. There cannot. Like this is so scary. Yeah. And everybody is like just reaches the point where it's about to happen and then they tag the next person and they go on. So it's okay. It's fine.
But JS kind of embodied that. Like he kind of did.
No one mentioning Faith's great quote, draw me like one of your French babes.
That was great. That was really good. She was great for that.
Line.
But JS is like a reality TV producer's dream. Like he like comes with a purpose, like is an entertaining character, has some game sense, but is going to cause a lot of problems with people. I just feel like the Jess beef is not the only beef though. Like it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We're gonna get a lot from him. I'm very excited. I like him a lot.
What's the story on him needing to say his middle name just the
S.
letter S?
Yes.
Okay.
Judy B. Jones coded.
So is there a reason he needs everyone to know that?
Is there like a real reason? I guess no. Look,
There were any other J's on the cast, so I don't know if he was like trying to distinguish. I don't know. Like, I like it.
All you need to
understand
is JS is a fan of reality TV and he is a reality TV personality. So why does he do this? The answer is because he's doing it. He's called JS because it's a reality TV thing to do. And why is he being loud and fighting with people? Because it's reality TV, baby. Jack says it perfectly. He's a character, and you never really know where that ends and he begins.
Yeah. True.
Damn.
But you got to remember the S. You can't say JS.
Got it.
You can't say J.
It's like Chekhov's S. Like I can't wait for somebody to not call him JS just to fucking explode the whole game. I cannot wait.
It's gonna happen. We already know. I bet it's gonna be Jess who does it too.
Well, she's got S's to spare, so it's crazy.
Do we have any other fun moments that we want to talk about from this episode?
Good question.
I mean, I laughed my ass off at the introduction, which is like, Doug, they let you play again, and then
Oh, I
also,
wrote that down too.
the screenshots I took of how you been, Eric? Fucked up emotionally.
That was so funny.
That was so good.
Oh yeah, and Mike saying they let you come back to Katie, and I was like, me at Mike.
We didn't talk about Mike a lot.
No, Dylan said that.
Oh, that was Dylan.
Dylan
Oh.
said that to
Wow.
Katie. Mike said that to Doug.
I will have no slander on Mike's name in this.
What do we
in
think
this
about
podcast.
Mike?
Oh,
Like,
I
we didn't
will
talk
only
about him.
slander Mike's
Yeah.
name.
Oh, we
let's-
didn't talk about Mike. What do we think about Mike? Quidditch King coming back.
There's always a
You
Quidditch
could
player.
see the Quidditch game in
I
the
liked that.
background.
Yeah, I was gonna say I liked the
They are
Quidditch
practicing,
shot. Like
yes.
Katie walking by the Quidditch field. That was great.
I think Mike is definitely of every returner the least threatening to people, regardless of placement. I think people, he has this certain air about him that is very like, just like number two, if that makes sense. Like it feels like in every conversation he had. I'm not being mean. I'm so sorry. I mean, like it really feels like he is everyone's sidekick, and I don't know. If it's
okay.
yeah, no, sorry.
I thought you meant like shit.
Dude,
No. I meant like
Oh,
He's got real number two energy, you know?
Say shit, Anders. I'm not saying shit.
I don't know your life. You say challenge.
Oh, whatever.
yelling.
He does feel though like in his conversations, whether it's intentional or not, he is very like not secondary, but just like very like I am just the ally to whatever person. And so I don't know. I feel like that can lend himself pretty far in the game, but I don't really know what Mike has in store in terms of like game moves, if that makes sense. Like I don't know really what his prowess will be with like shifting the game around come whenever he needs to do that.
Yeah, I thought that Mike on his season was a person who he tried to do something and it was just like inherently too late. I think he just never had a good footing. And I was really happy for him to see that it was like Faith is talking to him and then like Faith is bringing in other people. But I do agree with you, George, because it felt like Faith has called this meeting to order and Mike, you are the chosen one, come sit. Although that I think that's Mike's room, you know, whatever the poster was behind him.
Oh, the room where
Yeah, at first I was like, "Oh, Faith is what is Faith like an elementary ed major?" And then I was
English.
like, "No, just the room that Mike is in." I like Mike. I think that he's a challenge asset, the same way that Dylan is, which is to say that like he's not coming up anytime in this pre-merge until they swap, whenever that might be. And if he's got JS on his side, from there. I love the vacation pick, by the way.
That was not on my bingo card.
Love when you get the receipts. You're like, and I know here they are on the cruise. It was great.
Yeah. Look, I had to zoom in because if I just show the full picture, you're like, I see a lot of white people. Where are they?
In Maryland? No.
Well, on this specific trip, yeah. Well, also when you're looking for just Mike and JS, it's like, well, I see a lot of skin, so it's hard to know where one is.
Where one starts and the other ends, yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Any other fun moments from this episode that we want to talk about?
Yeah, fucked up that you didn't make the episode Girls Priority as the episode title, but whatever, that's fine.
True.
Or talking boys we want to get out.
Those were Boys We Want to Get Out was a possible option.
Oh, that's
Great
good.
line.
Boys,
Great
we
line.
want to get out.
No, those were the only other moments I had written down, honestly. I think we hit everything else.
Yeah.
I will just say I liked in the challenge. I could see the worm race, the how close it got. I could see Holly was there and Austin was there. Just everybody watching like the finish line cross. I thought that was so funny. Like no matter what, when a challenge is going on, people want to see how it's going.
Totally.
People are invested.
Yep. Okay, the possible episode titles for this episode were It's
Yes.
Game Time, which was said by Faith.
Mhm.
Come On, Spirit, by Sherry.
Yes, Jerry.
This Shit Serious by Jess. Top Prize to Shoot Down by Eric. You Don't Won by Accident, which I think is a great title. Boys You Want to Vote Out by Jess. A Little King by Dylan. And then Survivor's Not a Joke by Andrew.
It's fair. That's
I
fair.
think you
But
picked
They're
the
all
right
good.
title.
Yeah,
I do
you still
think you
picked the right
picked the
one.
right
I
title.
think so too.
And I'm not questioning it.
Although I do love a little king. I
A
think that was
A
funny.
little king.
Like it's no longer a short king; it's a little
It's a
king.
little
He's
king.
a little kid.
Ugh.
All right, let's talk about what we think is going to happen. So we saw Sabrina go this episode. If Sababa goes again, who do we think is in jeopardy?
I think Fish. Yeah.
I hope not.
I also think Morgan. I kind of agree with you, Shane, which is why I'm like, my prayers will be up because I cannot lose Morgan this early. But I
think,
definitely,
yeah. Go
if
ahead.
they lose 2 challenges, then they're kind of. I think losing 2 in a row makes them feel a little doomed, whereas maybe winning one and then losing one doesn't feel so like, oh shit, we're doing
True.
something wrong here.
Yeah. I just think they have so many rats that like it's gonna be hard for a returner to go unless it's like
Mhm.
for a while. Because like
Exactly.
Jess is gonna run stuff back, like
Mhm.
Winnick's gonna run stuff back, even Fish, even if like he's involved with like being maybe voted out, like people are gonna he's gonna get on that phone, he's gonna show it to the camera and he's gonna rat it out. I think there's too many rats for it to happen. So
It's
unless
true.
unless Doug and
Absolutely.
Morgan have a little that's the thing is like in my opinion I think the only way at least on that tribe a returner goes is if they have a dispute amongst themselves, which they need to make sure they don't.
Look, watch
I'm
when
curi-
Michaela comes out of the woodwork.
Ooh,
Wait,
yeah.
Katie on.
Dismantles the returnees.
Oh yeah.
I'm also just like curious in general to see like how long these tribes are gonna last. Like we saw in season 6, like they did swap into 3 tribes. Like how like are these 2 tribes gonna stay for a long time? Or like I wouldn't be that surprised if Anders switch things up just for the
You
chaos.
know, I think
immediately.
something to think about here is I wanted the game with these game changers to really be in their hands. So a little bit
Oh,
to
fuck.
come.
Oh,
I never want to hear that voice ever again. That
Too
was
bad.
really
that was
Um,
terrifying.
Okay, so Morgan's in danger, Fish is in danger. What about on Maesta?
It's egg roll or it's
Egg
Sam, I
roll.
think.
I think Sam will be fine because of Jack. I don't think Jack is gonna be
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna
willing.
do that either. But I do fear for egg roll because I don't think
Or
that the returners are as tight over there.
Yeah, it's more duos than anything. What if it's
Or-
Tony?
Miranda, like we didn't see a lot from Miranda.
Tony gives up immunity. That's true. I don't see any reason it would be Miranda. I don't know. I think we didn't get a ton of their dynamics other than like, yeah, I think currently like Sam and Eggroll are the 2 main names out there. And so I think if Jack is not willing to do Sam, which I definitely don't think that she would be, I think unfortunately it falls onto Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I would really hope that Eric pulls it out because I'm like, I've been rooting for Eric since it was dropped that he would be returning.
Yeah.
And I can't have this happen also, but you know, I think that him and Sherry had that great talk, and I'm just hoping that like he can learn from his mistakes in a way and try and find his footing in a better spot. He didn't talk about Toastmasters this time, so
That's so
Sure
true.
didn't.
Big improvement already.
It was weird though about Sam, like how upset. I don't know how many people it was, but like about the challenge where it was like, yeah, Jack had to like help her out. It's like, dude, everyone's just trying their best. Like it's just
Yeah.
a puzzle. Like, sorry, like it wasn't a big deal. She
And they
ate
still won.
shit.
Doug
Yeah,
didn't even
everyone.
finish it. Doug didn't even like he barely
Right.
finished it.
You can't complain after you won. Like, come on. It's like that'd be crazy if like imagine on CBS Survivor, it's like, damn, we won that challenge, but like they were kind of slow. Let's get their ass out. Like,
They needed
Yeah.
help on the puzzle.
It's
Unacceptable.
interesting. Maesta did focus on the challenge for who to get out, and they won. And Sababa didn't. Like
Yeah.
Fish switched it over,
you were
even though
like,
it was very much.
Doug did his best. He did such a great job.
Yeah.
That was not why they wanted to target Doug. And the only reason they said, "Oh, Sabrina is weak," is because Sabrina said, "Oh, I think I was the weaker one in the challenge." Why would you?
She manifested that for herself.
She really
Oh.
did by telling Fish immediately. I think I was the weakest. Anyways, do you mind if I throw your name out?
how does that bus taste? Yeah.
All right. So we've got a lot of fun from this episode. We've got a lot of characters. Who do you think is going to win? You have a 1 and a 19 shot. Last season, Erin, you chose Sadie, which she got 8th, so not
A
bad.
good pick.
A good pick.
Thank you.
Who do we think is going to win winner take all? Who's going to take
God.
it all?
I'm gonna take Andrew. I think I'm gonna take Andrew. I think he is like he's got a great demeanor about him, and I think he's already setting himself up with a lot of good inroads. And I think he is the not as messy one in his roommate pair. So I think he's gonna outlast Tony. And yeah, I'm gonna take Andrew. I think he's taking it. I think he's taking it all.
Look, last season Santi had great eyes. Everyone commented on it, and he won.
Exactly.
So
And
having
it's a
a
best smile.
best smile, we got some
See,
faith.
I was
I feel
also
like-
a huge Faith stan.
Faith.
Would love a Faith win.
I feel like you want us to say Jack based on the edit. Just like that's what I like. I got like winner vibes from Jack, but because of that, I'm like, I feel like she's gonna be like Rob's goddess. So you know what? I'm gonna go with the Winnick take off because
Unironically.
just for the meme. Just for the meme.
That's awesome.
Because he was the best in the challenge by far,
Yes,
George.
and
no one
By far.
cared.
Magic be damned. Wow. That's
just for the
awesome.
meme.
I
That's
love the
awesome.
idea of you made her edit really good, so I'm gonna go with Winnick. Sure.
I don't
Yeah,
think I'm right.
actually really
don't think I'm
fucking
right.
bad at editing. I'm just putting whatever the fuck in.
No, I know you're good, but I'm just going with what I want.
You need the
It'll be
other
hilarious.
hour that's left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah,
Give me the
hour.
secret
But-
scenes.
But that being
It's-
said, that being said about Winnick, I will say he did clock what was going on, and he did change the tides. So I think he has more game sense than we caught on to.
This
Changed
is
the
cognitive
game.
dissonance, but yes, absolutely.
We'll see. I don't really think I'm right. I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, I also like that Winnick. Winnick, I think, can really see into the future because half the time he's wearing his buff as a mask, which is like, he didn't know that was going to be necessary. He could see the future. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
true.
Okay,
Anyways, I'm picking Miranda. I don't know why. I don't think it's a good pick, but I love her. I'm picking Miranda.
What are we doing, guys?
We're going with our hearts. George.
Oh
play,
man.
with my heart.
Do I go with
My
my
guts and
heart?
my glory. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's the issue here, right? Is like I'm trying to pick between returner.
Do you guys want me to
or
give
not.
you two options, a returnee and a newbie?
No.
Sure.
Shut up. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Wait,
Shane's right.
As somebody who has to face their decision here every week, I would have loved two options.
Okay, I'll give you a second option.
Okay,
um,
returner and a right. Well, hold on. I have to do my newbie too. I'll do my
Okay,
newbie.
fine.
No,
give
we're
me
back
your-
to me actually, George.
Okay,
If you want to
no,
take
Sounds good. I'm gonna pick. Can I pick the same? It's boring to pick the same thing as somebody else.
Were you gonna pick Winnick too?
I'm gonna. Yeah, I was gonna pick Andrew.
Great pick.
I'm gonna pick.
You can pick Andrew.
Picking.
No.
I'm picking.
Girls priority.
Michaela.
I'm picking Jack. I'm gonna pick Jack.
There you go. I respect it. Good
I think
pick.
Wow,
it's a-
shocker. George wants a Jack in the game.
Wow, incredible pull there.
He's
Incredible.
just no Alex.
I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously Jack's in a really good position now. Who knows where it goes? But I have a weird feeling that a man's gonna win this season, so I'm just trying to like push the agenda of not that. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. All right. What are we doing here with returners?
My returning Dylan. Going with
Damn,
Dylan.
I was gonna say
Good pick.
Dylan
Good
too.
pick. Good pick.
I gotta
So-
make up for the Winnick one, you know?
I'm gonna take Faith as my returnee.
It's fine. Screw you guys. I'm taking Sherry. Let's go, Sherry.
Okay.
Good answer. Good answer.
And guys, you know what really sucks is I guess I gotta pick Katie, baby. Let's fucking go.
I can't
Two-time
believe
winner.
I can't believe no one picked Katie except for George. That's crazy.
Oh God, so happy with this. All right, everything is right. I get to pick Katie at the end of the day. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what they said at Michigan Tribal Council too.
God is
there for that.
ass.
I wasn't there for that.
I know you weren't. That's
Rip.
an Ian, decision.
Look, like George said earlier, sometimes these people in these power positions get a little power hungry and they want to take out a Katie. It happens.
It does
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, so those are our winner picks. It'll be interesting to see who does win. There's still a lot left to the season. We're gonna see what happens next episode, but that's a week away. But before we wrap this up, I want to give everyone a moment to plug whatever they're going to plug. Let's start with our guests. Sorry, Erin, you'll have to go last.
That's okay.
George, do you have anything you'd like to plug for the audience?
Yeah, bro. Have you heard about Survivor Michigan? Pretty similar to this. Also starts with an M.
Oh.
Big episode this
Survivor
Wednesday.
Michigan?
I know. Double episode this Wednesday. Ooh, it's longer. It is not 2 hours, Anders. You will be able to get to your bedtime in time.
If I can't watch a 2-hour Michigan episode, I ain't watching it. If it ends with the tribal, I ain't interested.
Not this. Ian found dead somewhere.
I found dead in a ditch.
The
I'll
fact
put
that
some.
Ian was just texting Anders a bunch of compliments too. I just want to talk about that. I just want to talk about that.
As he throws up another compliment on the screen. Oh wow! But yeah,
It's
check
my
it out
show.
this Wednesday. That's all I got.
Survivor Michigan. If you guys haven't watched Survivor Michigan, The Michigan Difference on Survivor Michigan's new channel, you should. It's great. If you've ever wondered, what was the pandemic like for Survivor Michigan? Have we got something for you? George is the editor, so if you like episodes that are not over an hour long, you're going to love these.
You can't do this to me. I'm gonna get text from Ian later.
No, I watched All Stars. I enjoyed it. I'm just also saying this. Anyways, it's a great season with a lot of wonderful players, especially maybe someone who's on this podcast right now.
Nah.
Oh wait, Ian's not here. Never mind. Shane.
Yes, so I actually have very exciting news. Scotty Survivor's third season, Pirates Plunge, is actually premiering February 29th on Leap Day. What can I say about this season? So it's interesting because when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know if I'm loving it. But then after, when I've been going back, I've been editing it. Wait, this season was really good. Like,
Wait,
actually, it was really. I was like, wait, this season actually had a lot of really fun moments. So maybe we'll see some more girls alliances and how those plays out. The girls' priority. Let's see if that checks out. So February 29th, check that out on our YouTube channel. If you haven't seen our first 2 seasons, definitely recommend that. Season 2 in particular is, I'd say, one of the craziest things I've ever seen in College Survivor. And I think Erin and Naomi can corroborate that. So very excited about season 3.
Yeah. Amazing.
And that's the day after season 46 premieres.
So true.
Oh God, who cares about that?
Truly. Actually, strike that from the record. Naomi.
Sorry. Hi.
Who cares about that? I care about it.
So I just want to say that I started a new podcast because I'm bored. It's called Production Value. It's on my YouTube channel, which is I'm on Twitter and then you can find it through there. But I had Anders as a guest and we talked about what it was like to take the reins over from Austin and become the host of Survivor Maryland and all the intricate details of becoming a College Survivor host. And I'm super excited. My next episode is coming out on Thursday. And I have to say that it was also really fun. It has absolutely nothing to do with College Survivor, but there will be more in the future. So Anders, that was a lot of fun. Thank you for doing that with me. And it's like it's a 2 hour plus long interview. So
2 hours. Interesting.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I need to get time out there.
And don't worry, if you ever want to hear me describe myself as the Great Depression host of Survivor Maryland, that's the place to learn why I say that. But yeah, go listen to that. Go watch Survivor New York.
Yeah, that too.
Or don't. It's not College Survivor, so actually.
Yeah, it's just like pathetic adults running around on a beach. So less
in New York. Also, if you haven't listened to or watched, there's another great podcast Naomi did called Mike White Was Robbed about Survivor hot takes. And she may or may not have an episode with Mike White himself.
Yeah.
So
my
true.
best friend, Mike White.
Your
Yeah.
bestie.
Yeah.
She's going to be on the next season of White Lotus.
Yeah. I am actually.
Naomi.
Wow.
That would be.
Oh my God, that's a great joke for somebody else to tweet because if I tweet it, it's just like, oh my God, we get it. You talked to Mike White. Yeah, that's a really fun podcast. It's my pick tweet. Mike was really nice, and we talked about why he maybe should or shouldn't have won Survivor, and we talked about The Amazing Race and the influence of those shows on The White Lotus. It was
And it's just too bad no one won that season.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really does
it is
suck.
crazy. It
It
is
does
Yeah,
suck.
crazy.
yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna marry my cousin. Erin, is there anything that you want to plug?
Watch Survivor Michigan. We have 2 channels. Gen 1, you can watch all of Generation 1 from seasons 1 to 5. Some great seasons in there, some not so great. Who's to say? You decide. Also on the Gen 2 channel, watch season 6, The Michigan Difference, where you can see George Jane. Great guy. So I hear. And then yeah, follow us on all the socials. We are at Survivor UMish. You definitely want to follow to see if and when the episodes get uploaded for season 6.
God, his ass. Damn.
Got me.
And yeah, follow me too on on Twitter at eSickery. Just for fun.
If you haven't already, follow Survivor Maryland on Twitter at UMDSurvivor. Follow us on Instagram at survivor.maryland. And if you want to, you can go to Facebook and just look up Survivor Maryland. We have something there, even though no one uses Facebook. Don't follow me. Anyways, just to give you a little hint at what's coming in the future, Season 8 is one of my favorite seasons I've made. You can look forward to some very fun fights, some incredible moves, a lot of drama, a lot of just amazing moments, amazing characters. If there's someone you loved in this episode, you're going to love them even more when it gets turned up. Get excited. This season has just gotten started. And I think you're going to learn to love and hate some very specific players. But it's going to be a wonderful ride. And thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. And we will see you next week for episode 2 of Survivor Maryland Winner Take All. I'm so sorry this was an hour and 41 minutes. I really didn't think it would go that long, but what can you do? All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.